This is Sherwin at House of Swa on Twitter, if you do follow me on Twitter. If not, maybe you should start following me on Twitter. I had to publish a video or produce a video regarding the ridiculous article that Media Matters published regarding the hiring of a new individual named Mike Cernovich on the RSBN network. I just find it completely preposterous that they would run with this headline saying that RSBN is hiring yet another individual who promotes racism when people are entitled to their views. And if you actually look up the definition of racism sometimes, I don't know what you or Media Matters likes to categorize itself or how it likes to categorize racism. Sometimes what Media Matters might quantify as racism is not actually racism. Maybe they need to get that in their head. What most mainstream media typically calls racism is not racism. People are entitled to have their opinions. That's how we get to a new understanding after we understand first where those opinions came from, and then we can have a dialogue and discussion, and that leads to providing solutions to people. But berating them and just saying that he's a racist, and then you present just snippets of pieces of information of what he said throughout the whole article, and then you basically take snippets to portray him as a racist, basically the same tactic that they used in Trump over the last 2 years, or before he ran for office. He was whatever his statements were perfectly fine. Then all of a sudden he runs for office, and there's this big backlash when political correctness has gotten us into the mess, and I mean us, the Western civilization, into the mess that we're in. So people should be entitled to have their opinions, because when they sit behind closed doors and have these opinions behind closed doors, some of which I agree with, some of which I don't agree with, but people are entitled to have their opinions. That's what the Western civilization is based on, is people's freedom of speech and their ability to communicate whatever their feelings are, so that they can encourage discourse, and then hopefully resolving any issues that may outlay there. Anyway, just to take up a few point facts regarding the article that I couldn't just get over. The fact that the RSBN, or that they're saying that RSBN only hires proud racists, is just ridiculous. I don't know what this whole big issue is with hating white people. It's this new phenomenon, I think, in liberal media to always hate white people. White people are allowed to like white people, just like black people are allowed to like black people, just like Asian people are allowed to like Asian people, and I can go on and on and on. Or I can also say, just like white people are allowed to like black people, and black people are allowed to like white people. I don't know where all this talk always has to come down to with race, that you only focus on the race-related issues that people say, and the only things that you object to are things related to race. You don't object to other extreme things that are going on around the world that really matter, that are causing deaths around the world. You like to worry about things that one person that has said, and I haven't, to be honest, I haven't fully read everything Michael Cernovich, if that's how you pronounce his last name, has basically written, because I haven't at the time. I also have a second job, but to snippet little pieces of information or little tweets that he's had over a long period of time, and to categorize him as a racist, and then state that RSBN only hires racists and only likes to have their views, is just completely false. They've had a show on their network, the Wayne Dupree Show, for who knows how long. They've also had the Pastor Mark Burns has also had a show on their network as well. And if you just do any basic research before you publish an article or try to brand RSBN as a completely strict racist, or that they only hire proud racists, and then you completely sideline the other two black people that have been on their network, is just a complete miscarriage of justice when it comes to reporting facts as journalists are supposed to. I know this was in the blog section of the Media Matters article, but they should still have some credibility, or should still have some moral standards when it comes to what castigating someone as a racist. When just because they have views that you may not agree with, you can't just call them racist. Just because they say things that may pertain to a certain or particular group doesn't make them racist. You need to get over certain prejudices people may have, or certain different understandings of different understandings that people may have, and get to how we move forward rather than just portraying people as racist. That doesn't work. That's not the solution to completely put people into boxes and call them racist. That's the Democrat liberal way of doing things, where you put people into boxes and then you try and cater to their message, and then you don't actually deliver on anything. Why don't you make things broadly for Americans, or any Western government, but in this case Americans primarily, get things on a America-wide basis to unify on that grounds, rather than doing things on the typical liberal way of doing things, where you like to label people. And I don't know why they like to label people, because just calling people is how we should be moving forward as a society. Not saying black woman or white man or black officer, or black man or black officer shoots down white man, or white officer shoots down black man. That should never be the lead in the story. What caused those people to get, what caused the cops to get there in the first place should be the first question. But again, we're getting off topic here. But with regards to calling RSBN or stating that RSBN only hires racist people, or that they only hire or only believe, or maybe that's what they're trying to allude to in the article as I've read, it's just completely off basis from my personal experience of just following everything that RSBN has done over the almost 2 years that they've been in operation, if not more than 2 years, I'm not really sure. But since the time that I have been a part of the RSBN family, I guess I can say, I have never experienced any form or seen anything mildly racist. They go out of their way to make sure that racist behavior and racist talk is not accepted in their chat rooms. And the fact that this article in Media Matters is trying to portray RSBN in this racist image is just ridiculous. And then, of course, they also mention in the article that it's the unofficial Trump TV network. So, of course, this is why they probably want to have this whole racist spin to things and trying to make it seem like, oh, because it's a Trump network, they're racist. I am a black man, and I love Donald J. Trump. This is what brought me and RSBN and into this whole fold, was my support for Donald Trump, and they were the only people showing the message of what he was trying to say, and they were the only people actually portraying his message, not what the media thinks he said, but what he actually said, his words. They are the only network that has been able to do that, and just because that the candidate happens to be white, you can't fault them for that. But that just happens. Donald Trump just happens to be white. You can't fault him for being white, just like you can't fault black people for being black. And I can go on and on and on. But calling RSBN racist is just kind of a little bit offensive. And if you did any sort of research on facts, you would see that they employ black people as much as white people. I think they even employed or had broadcasters on their network who were black first, if I recall from what I remember from the network over the last year and a half or 2 years that I've been following RSBN on YouTube and media. People are allowed to have associations to groups, and just because that they say that they may understand some of the points that alt-right may have made, of this alt-right categorization. Again, I'm not going to go on in this whole tangent. I'm just for common sense conservatism, and that is Trump in a nutshell. But trying to portray these people as racist just because they have common sense views and they're trying to voice their views that maybe they've been shunned for the last 8 years or longer, or they've expressed their views in former Republican governments and have not been heard. Maybe that has what led these people to get even more jaded by government. So you can't be frustrated when these people are trying, or when people in general, not these people, when the people in general are trying to express themselves. You need to hear them out and then present an alternative, not complain or trying to put them in a category or a group. Try to listen and understand what they're saying so we can move forward with finding a solution. Some of the things that I read in the article I didn't like about or I wouldn't have said, but I'm sure some people don't like some of the things I say or even some of the things I tweet, for all I know. But if you don't like it, don't turn it off. I don't know why you have to listen to it. If you don't want to listen to it, don't listen to it. If you have a problem with it, why, you can say your 2 cents and you're entitled to do so. But, call people things that they're not when you basically have no foundation to do so, or if you're only going to take snippets of one person has said in the past and run with it and say that they're only going to be that type of person, maybe they'll act differently in a new position. You never know what's going to happen. You always have to give people a chance. The fact that you have written this article and trying to portray him in a negative light only brings more people to their attention. Like, now I have now seen this article. I wouldn't have seen it before. I wouldn't have even known who this person... Well, of course, I do watch RSBN frequently. I would have seen his new broadcasting, but seeing as how it was 2 days ago, I haven't had the opportunity to do so, because, again, I have another job. But, again, I just don't understand the point that you publish this article that's going to draw attention to him, and that's a good thing for RSBN. So, in actuality, maybe this is a good thing. We all know that Trump likes to say, all media is good media, because in the end, if as long as you have a good message that resonates with the people, hopefully good things can come. And then again, they like to create comments regarding white genocide or stating that white genocide is real. People are entitled to feel that. Like, what if black people weren't saying that, black people, what's the difference between Black Lives Matter saying that they're being attacked, identifying only their issues? There's no issue with that. But the second the white person says white genocide is an issue, or that maybe that certain things may be happening, people are entitled to feel that way. Just like Black Lives Matter have been entitled. I don't agree with them at all. I'm not saying, I'm not saying I like their message. I'm saying, but they have the right to their opinion, and you don't, and not once has there been that same argument made from that perspective. It's always the same argument that if white people complain that that things are happening to white people, it's a big thing and that they must be racist. No, if Black Lives Matter are saying that things are happening to black people, or they're under the impression that things are happening to black people, then they have the right to stand up for what they're fighting for, just as much, or stand up for what they believe they see, as much as that they may be wrong, and as much as Mike may be wrong with his theory. I haven't seen his work. All I'm reading is what I read in this article, and from this article, I can tell it's pretty biased and trying to portray him as someone that he may or may not be. And I don't think that he is how this article would portray him to be, because I know that the people at RSBN and the founder at RSBN, Joe, would not hire someone that I don't believe that he believes is racist, or is how this article is portraying this person to be. And then, like I said, I saw some of the other clips. I didn't agree with everything that he had said, but in the whole scheme of things, the whole focus on race, and everything always has to revolve around race, and the way that everything in mainstream media and liberal media always has to come down to is grouping people, and what is this and that, and not things that contribute to the solution, but only contribute to the problem. Everything always has to revolve around race, and those things always stick out in U.S. politics. And for me as a Canadian, I don't really understand it. I guess you're getting a Canadian's perspective. I've just always followed U.S. politics, and it's one thing I think a lot of Canadians just do, because, what else do we have to do in the cold and all this snow, I guess, in the wintertime. But again, I just don't see what the big issue is with white people liking white people. Like, if white people standing up for white causes, and that doesn't make them racist. Just like Black Lives Matter standing up for their issues or black causes doesn't make them racist. And I haven't seen the same portrayal in liberal media portraying Black Lives Matter as this big old racist group that is, big old racist group standing up for their cause. So I just don't. If you're going to make the parallel in one aspect, you have to make it in all aspects. You can't just have your cake and eat it too, I guess, in a society that's built on people having the freedom to say whatever they want, just as I guess you in the blog section have done in Media Matters. I just don't agree with what you're doing at all, and I need to stand up for RSBN, because RSBN is just trying to bring the message of the people to the government and to the forefront as where it always should have been, not in the interest of the special interest and these big media corporations and big media publishers that have been controlling the narrative, trying to portray this liberal agenda that not everyone wants. Maybe the state of California, with its abundance of votes, of liberal votes, with its abundance of votes that have been going on, that basically tilted the popular vote in Clinton's slide, doesn't really matter, because just because you have one group of people in a certain center, a certain more populous area, doesn't mean that everyone wants what you're trying to shove down their throat, essentially. And just like this article is trying to shove down their viewers' throat that Mike is racist, or that RSBN is only hiring racists, I wouldn't take it to heart, because I don't think, and I do not believe, that RSBN would hire racists or would try and portray any message other than trying to solve the problems that are facing the American people and bringing the American people the actual message that Trump is saying, and the actual message that the supporters of Trump have been trying to say for people in government for the last, at least since 9/11, since I've been paying very close attention to U.S. politics, but probably for many, many decades that that has been going on for the last number of years. But at least in my lifetime, I've only seen things go down, and part of the reason that it has been going down is because of political correctness, and that needs to stop. RSBN is not a racist network, and I stand behind them 100%, and I don't agree with this Media Matters article at all, and they should need to be put in their place. And I'm just standing up for a network that I know is not a racist network. This is Sherwin, and again, I'm at House of SWA on Twitter. Feel free to add me on Twitter at any time that you feel is convenient for you. Looking forward to having more videos. Talking to you soon. Take care. Bye.